The 90th return of JinPingMei original version. Lai Wang kidnapped Sun Zui, and Zui was humiliated and guarded the mansion. It is said that Uncle Wu led a group of men and women, including Yunyang, left Yangfu Temple and came along the long embankment of big trees. Dian was already at the Xinghua restaurant, which was bustling with people. He chose a place in Gaofu and set up a banquet and feast on the ground. He had been waiting for a long time. From a distance, she saw Yunyang and others arriving in sedans and donkeys, and asked, "Why did we come here?" Yunyang told her again about her encounter with ChenMei in Yangfu Temple. Soon the wine was served. Everyone was sitting down and drinking. They saw incense carriages and embroidery hubs going back and forth downstairs, and there was a lot of people. Yunyang and others looked at Gaofu and saw a huge crowd of people surrounding them, all watching the teacher's tricks. It turns out that Li Yan'e, the son of the county magistrate, is named Li Gongbi. He is about 30 years old. Walking in Walyang Lane, people call him Li Stick. That day, he was wearing a pair of light and soft clothes, a brown cap with a golden crown on his head, and dry yellow boots. He Buwai, the official in charge of the corridor, led 20 or 30 heroes to the Xinghua village restaurant with slingshots, blowpipes, and bats. Next, I watched the teacher Li Gui perform various tricks, such as shoulder piles, belly belts, wool gun dance, and stick dance, which attracted many men and women to laugh round. Li Gui, who was nicknamed Shandong Yaksha, wore a scarf with 10,000 characters on his head, a narrow purple shirt, and the belly wrapped in gold. He sat down on a silver-maned horse, held a bright red spear in his hand, and put a flag with the word Feng Ling on his back. He saddled his horse in the middle of the street. Showing off their skills, Li Yameni was looking at where he was when he suddenly looked up and saw a group of women drinking in Gaofu. Among them was a woman with a long figure, and consciously, his eyes were wandering. He didn't see enough, but he saw enough. He said nothing in his mouth, but in his heart he secretly said, "I wonder whose women are there? Are there any men?" He called Xiao Zhang, who had promised to come over and quietly distributed, "Go to that high slope and find out who the 3 women in white are. Home, if you find out the truth, let me know." The little Zhang Xian agreed and Yun Fei ran away. Not long after, he walked up to him and whispered in his ear, "So and so, these are the wives and children of Ximen King's family in front of the county gate. One is an old man named Wu, who is his concubine. One with a short stature is his eldest wife Wu Yunyang. The one with white pockmarks is the 3rd wife, whose surname is Meng and whose given name is Yulu. She is now a widow at home." After hearing this, Li Yameni took a fancy to Meng Yulu and rewarded Xiao Zhangxian, no matter what. Wu Yunyang and her uncle watched for half a day. Seeing the sun shining over the mountains, they ordered Dian to pack the food boxes, get into the sedan and ride on the donkey to go home. There is a poem to prove it. The willow bottom and the shadow of flowers press the dust on the road, and you will appreciate something new every time you travel. We are destined to meet each other thousands of miles away, but if we are not destined to meet each other, we will not meet each other. There is no need to worry about Yunyang and everyone going home. But he said that day, Sun Zui and Sister Ximen were at home. They had nothing to do in the afternoon, so they both went out and stood at the front door. It was just a coincidence. I didn't want someone to come here who was shocked. At that time, selling cosmetics, living in flowers, and polishing mirrors were all shocking. The eldest sister said, "I fainted in the mirror. Make Ping enter, call that man and polish the mirror with me." The man put down his burden and said, "I don't know how to polish mirrors. I only sell some gold and silver to make a living and jewelry." Standing in front of the door, he only looked at Zui. Zui said, "That man, you don't know how to polish a mirror. Go ahead and just look at me." The man said, "Miss Su, eldest lady, you don't recognize me." The eldest sister said, "I look familiar." I thought quickly. "Can't get up." The man said, "I am Lai Wanger who escaped from my father's hands." Zui asked, "Where have you been in the past few years? You have become very fat." Lai Wanger said, "I left my father's family and went to my hometown of Shuzhou. My family was idle and had no livelihood, so I followed my father to Beijing to become an official. Unexpectedly, His father died halfway and went to Dingyu's family. I joined Gu Yinpu in the city and learned the banking skills and various aspects of life. The market was late these 2 days, and Gu Yinpu taught me how to carry a load and go out to sell some odds and ends on the street. When I saw my mother at the door, I couldn't help but if you dare to come and recognize me, I'm afraid you'll be kicked out of the door. Today, you didn't dare to recognize me because I didn't stop you, Sue said. So it's you. I only recognized you for half a day and couldn't remember it in vain, since we are old children. What are you afraid of? She asked. What kind of life are you selling in your load? Pick it inside and wait for me. Take a look at each. Then Wenger carried the load into the yard inside, opened the box and used a basket to hold out several pieces of jewelry. They are inlaid with gold and silver, and they are very cleverly made. The eldest sister looked at it with Sue and asked Lai Wenger, You still have Hukui, take it out. Sun Sue left him a pair of green phoenixes and a pair of goldfish pierced by willows. The eldest sister weighed out the money and gave it to him. Sue lived a different life and owed him 1 or 2 taels of silver, so she made an appointment with him come and pick it up early tomorrow morning. Your aunt is not at home today, so your aunt, your third wife, and your brother have gone to burn paper with your father on the grave. Lai Wang said, I was at home last year and heard people saying that my father was dead. My aunt gave birth to a brother, and I was afraid that he would be too old, Sue said. Your eldest daughter is only half a week old now. All the children in the family, big or small, are like jewels on top of treasures. It all depends on how he lives. While they were talking, Lai Zhao's wife, Yi Zhongking, came out and poured a cup of tea for him to eat. Then Lai Wenger took the tea and sang with him. Lai Wang also came forward and talked with him. Fan Fu, come and see my aunt tomorrow. Then Wenger went out to shoulder the burden. In the evening, Yunyang and others came home in sedan chairs. Zue, eldest sister, and all the girls followed and kowtowed. Dan couldn't walk with the box bearer, so he hired a donkey to ride home and sent the box bearer away. Yunyang told Zue and the eldest sister that she met Chunmai in the temple today. It turns out that he buried the Pan family at the back of the temple. And I didn't know it. He came to burn paper for his mother, and I met him by accident. The mother-in-law recognized each other again. First, the elders of the temple prepared a meal. Later, he asked his companion to prepare a box of 40 or 50 from his family, with various vegetables and rice, and sifted wine, but he couldn't eat it all. He saw his brother, my son. I gave him a pair of hairpins, and I was very unfriendly. He walked 3 and 5 and sat in a big sedan, and many people followed him. Moreover, the one who was born was much older than before, and he was getting whiter and fatter. Wu Dejinzi said, he has not changed his ways. When he was at our house at that time, I saw that he acted more upright than other maids and spoke calmly. He is a talented person. You see today, he is so blessed that his soul is so blessed. Meng Yulu said, Sister didn't ask him. I asked him to come. Sure enough, he hasn't washed and changed in half a year, and he is pregnant with a happy event. It's just a child in August or September, so I don't like him very much. What sister-in-law Zhu said is not bad. After talking about it for a while, Zue mentioned, my mother is not here today. My eldest sister and I were at the door and saw Lai Wenger. It turns out that he learned to be a silversmith here and sold gold and silver on his shoulders. I didn't recognize him, so I bought him a few sprigs of flowers and green flowers. He asked his mother to come, and I told him that I was going to burn paper on the grave. Yunyang said, why don't you teach him to wait for me to come home? Zue said, I always teach him to come tomorrow. As he was sitting and talking, Ryer, the nanny, stepped forward and said to Yunyang, Brother has been here for half a day, but he has just been drowsy. There is cold air coming out of his mouth, and the soup on his body is burning. When Yunyang heard this, she panicked and picked up the child on the kang. She licked her mouth, and she suddenly broke out in a cold sweat and became hot all over. She scolded Ryer. What a whore! The child is cold in the sedan chair. Ryer said, I wrapped myself up tightly in the quilt. How could I be frozen? Yunyang said, if I didn't hug him to the dead ghost's grave, I would have frightened him. I'll give you the same amount of money. Hug him, but if you don't hold him back, hell just hug him. Ryer said. Sister Zhao Xiaoyu looked at him. She just hugged him and looked at him and then came. Why did you scare him to come? Yunyang said. Don't say anything. What's wrong with just looking at him? But he brought him fooled. He hurriedly called Anna. Please invite Mrs. Liu quickly. After a while, Mrs. Liu arrived. After checking his pulse, he felt his body and said, I have a bit of cold, and I encountered evil spirits. Saved a doses of cinnabar pills and drank them with ginger soup. She hugged him with her breasts and slept on the hot king until midnight. She broke into a cold sweat and her body became cold. So he waited for Mrs. Liu to have tea, gave her 3 coins, and asked her to come and see her tomorrow. The whole family was in a panic, up and down, and was in chaos for half the night. But it was said that Lai Wang still carried the burden of living the next day, and came to JinPingMei to sing with Lai Zhao, saying, Yesterday, Miss Snow left me some life, and promised to teach me to get money today. And then I will see my aunt. Lai Zhao said, You go ahead and come back another day. Yesterday, my aunt came home and her brother was not well. She asked the doctor and the imperial doctor to take a look at him and gave him medicine. He spent the whole night in chaos. I was sorry, but he is feeling better today, so I have to work hard to get some money. Just as they were talking, Yunyang, Yulu and Zui saw off Mrs. Liu and came to the front of the gate, where they saw Lai Wanger. Then Wanger lay on the ground and kowtowed to Yunyang and Yulu. Yunyang said, If I don't see you for a while, I won't come here for a walk. Lai Wanger told the story once again. It's hard to come if you want to come, Yunyang said. My old wife. What are you afraid of? Your father is gone again. Back then, it was just because of that prostitute of the Pan family, who set one end on fire and the other on water, and strangled her to death because of her arrogance. If something goes wrong, I will send you away in advance. The weather doesn't allow it today. So he went there, Lai Wanger said. I can't say it, I just understand in my heart. After answering, Yunyang asked him, What kind of life are you selling? Take it out and see. I picked up a few pieces of jewelry from him, and I should return him 3 taels of silver. So I weighed them all to him. Ask him to enter the Yemen, and ask Xiao Yu to get a pot of wine and a plate of snacks to teach him how to eat. So I worked hard in the kitchen and heated up a large bowl of meat and brought it out to him. After eating and drinking, he kowtowed and went out. Yunyang, Yulu and everyone returned to the back. So I whispered to him alone, You come and go so often. What's the matter? I have something to teach sister-in-law Zhao to tell you. I'll wait for you in the front wing of the Yemen in front of the purple wall tomorrow evening. The two exchanged glances, and Wanger knew what he meant and said, Will the Yemen be closed at night? Take the steps, Joel, cross the wall, and follow the covering wall. I will pick you up here. The 2 of us will meet again and I have something to say to you. Now that Lai Wang has heard these words, joy starts from his forehead, joy grows in his cheeks. He makes a speech to Zui, and goes out carrying his burden. It's just that, if you don't care about the family gods, you can't deal with the family ghosts. There is a poem to prove it. When I have nothing to do, I lean against the door and encounter a sentimental old fate. I dare not speak loudly to others, so I send my eyes back several times. Wanger came home happily and was speechless for the whole night. On the next day, he didn't go out to sell his life without carrying any burden. He slowly came to Ximen to celebrate his first birthday, and waited for Lai Zhao to come out and sing with him. Then Lai Zhao said, Brother Wang is very curious. I haven't seen you for a while. Lai Wanger said with a smile, No, I won't come either. Miss Su here is short of me a few living silver. Please beg for it. Lai Zhao asked Lai Wanger to sit down in the room. Lai Wanger said, Why are you missing? Sister-in-law. Lai Zhao said, Your sister-in-law is going to the stove later today. Then Lai Wanger took out a couple of silver coins, handed them to Lai Zhao, and said, With this silver, bring a pot of wine, and mix it with brother and sister-in-law eat it. Lai Zhao said, Why waste so many? Then he called his son Tiguaner to come over. The iron rod hung his head. He was 15 years old, took out the pot, poured a large amount of wine, and asked Ye Zhangking to come from behind. After a while, Yi Zhongking put a tin pot of hot rice, a large bowl of mixed rice, 2 plates of vegetables, and said, "Okay, Wang Guaner is here." Lei Zhao then took out the silver and looked at it with Yi Zhongking and said, "Brother, I spent a lot of money to make a pot of wine and we can eat it." Yi Zhongking said with a smile, "How can I make an envoy if I have no merit?" He put the king table on the table and asked Lai Wang to sit on it, place the food and wine and pour the wine. Lai Wanger first tipped his head to a cup and handed it to Lai Zhao, and then handed him a cup of green tea. He sang deeply and said, "I have never seen my brother and sister-in-law. This cup of water and wine is filial to my brother and sister-in-law." Yi Zhongking said, "Brother and sister-in-law, you are hurt by eating meat and wine. Don't tell lies to the real person. Miss Su inside asked me to tell you yesterday. You two have an old relationship and ask me to do this every couple of times. I'll take care of you. Don't talk about it in your sleep. If you want to know the way down the mountain, you need to ask people who have come here. If you meet me in Hong Kong and something comes out, don't eat it alone. You need to teach me to sip some juice. I will help you every time. There are many benefits and disadvantages." Then Lai Wang knelt down and said, "I only hope that my brother and sister-in-law will be safe, and I don't dare to forget." After that, he drank the wine. Yi Zhongking went back to talk to Zui and told him that he agreed to come in the evening and hide in Zhao's house. After closing the ceremony door at night, the people behind him would rest and cross over the wall to take care of things. There is poetry to prove it. Retribution is inherently selfless, and its effects are all similar. To know the causes of misfortunes and blessings, just look at what you do. After hearing this, Lai Wang came home, hoping it would not be too late. So he wandered into Lei Zhao's house, bought wine and ate with him. When it got deeper, no one noticed it. The front door was closed, the ceremonial door behind was bolted, and everyone in the family had their rest. There was a secret signal for each other, and only the sound of Zui's cough could be heard in the wall. Wanger stepped on the step stool and climbed over the white wall in the dark, while Zui followed with a stool. The two were piled up saddles in the west air room, hugging each other, and the clouds and rain made them one. They are both homeless and widowed, with burning desires. Then Wanger's spear was strong and he tried his best to do it. He was so happy and energetic that he poured out all his energy. After finishing the work, Zui handed him a bag of gold and silver jewelry, a few taels of broken silver, and 2 pieces of fancy clothes. They said, "Come back tomorrow evening. I still have some treasures for you. You can find a place to stay outside. From now on, if we can't live well in this house, why don't we quietly go out with you, find a house outside, and get married as a couple? You also know how to bank. Are you worried about not being able to live well?" Lai Wanger said, "Now outside the east gate, Simi Lane, I have an aunt, the famous mother-in-law Ku Laoniang. Where you are in the winding alley, out of sight. The 2 of us will go there. Later, if there is no movement, I will take you to your place of origin and buy a few acres of land. It's okay to plant it." The 2 have agreed. Now Lai Wang said goodbye to Zui, climbed over the wall and came to Zhao. Wait until dawn, open the door, and go out. At dusk, he came to the door again and walked into Lei Zhao's house. Wan Shi still jumped over the wall with the 2 officers. They came and went, not only in one day, but also stole many soft things, gold and silver utensils, clothes, and the like. Lei Zhao and his wife also had to make a lot of money for themselves, so there is no need to go into details. One day, Yunyang was watching Brother Xiao's flowers from behind. She felt unhappy and went to bed early. The maid Zhang Qier in Zui's room was originally sent by the eldest sister, because the Yuang Xiar in Li Zhao's room was taken by Jingji. Yunyang gave Zhang Qier to Zui and kept the Yuang Xiar to serve the eldest sister. That day, Zui sent Zhang Qier to sleep, packed a large bag of hairpin noodles in the room, put them in a box, covered her head with a handkerchief, took her clothes with her, and agreed that Lai Wanger would wait in Lei Zhao's house. "Gotta go," Lai Zhao then said. "I don't mind you leaving. I will guard the gate and let the ducks go. If the aunt knows about it, why do you want me to ask for someone? Why don't you break some tiles every time you go up to the house? And there are still traces." Lai Wanger said, "Brother is right." Zui also left a silver folding bowl, a golden ear cup, a green silk jacket, and a yellow silk skirt, and thanked him both. Wait until the 5th watch. When the moon is dark, go to the next room. Lei Zhao and his wife sifted out 2 more bells of warm wine and ate it with Lai Wang and Zui, saying, "It will make you walk better after eating, and you will feel more courageous on the road." At the 5th watch, each person held a stick of incense and a ladder, and sent 2 of them up to the house, breaking many of the tiles on the house step by step. When they reached the eaves, people were not walking on the street, and they heard the sound of patrolling. Wanger jumped down first, and then asked Zui to hold him on his shoulders and hug him down. The 2 of them walked forward, and when they reached a crossroad, they were stopped by a patrolman, who asked, "Where are the men and women going?" Zui panicked. Wanger took his time and flicked the official incense in his hand, and said, "I am a husband and wife. We went to burn incense at the Yu temple outside the city. I got up a little early, sir. Please don't blame me." The man asked, "What's in the baggage on your back?" Lai Wanger said, "It's a paper horse with incense and candles." The man said, "It's a good thing for 2 people to burn incense in Yu temple. You should go quickly." Lai Wanger made a sound, pulled Zui and flew forward. After walking to the bottom of the city gate opened. I walked out of the city and walked around a few streets and alleys. It turns out that Zimi Lane is a secluded place, with a few families living there, all with low-rise buildings. When we arrived at Grandma Q's house, Grandma Q hadn't opened the door yet. After calling for a long time, Grandma Q got up and opened the door. She saw that Lai Wanger had brought a woman. It turns out that Lai Wanger's real name is Zhang, and his given name is Zhang Wang, and he said, "This woman is my new wife and child. My aunt has a house here, and I can borrow one to stay for a while before looking for a house." He handed Grandma Ku 3 taels of silver and taught him how to buy firewood and rice. Grandma Ku got the money and had to stay. His son Ku Dang saw Zhang Wang and his wife carrying a lot of gold and silver jewelry. He wanted to make money at night, so he broke open the door to steal and went out to make money. As a result, he was caught. The incident was reported and taken to the county. See the official. Li Jixian saw that it was a thief stolen goods and that the stolen goods were there. So he sent people to escort Ku Dang home and tied Zheng Wang and Sun Zui with a rope. Zuer's face turned sallow. She changed into light clothes, wore gauze, pulled off all the rings on her hands, sent the man away, and took her to see the official. At that moment, people in the street were watching, and some of them recognized her, saying she was the young wife of Ximen King's family. Now the young man who walked out was Lai Wanger. She changed her name to Zheng Wang and committed adultery. She stole property and lived outside. I was touched by Ku Dang again, and now I have to go to the official. When the next one is passed to 10, and the 10 are passed to 100, the pedestrians on the road seem to be flying. Sin Sui left at Yunyang's house. Zhang Qiwer in the room saw that all the fine jewelry in the box was gone, and the clothes were thrown around in a mess, so he reported to Yunyang. Yunyang was startled and asked Zhang Qiwer, "You slept with him and left. Didn't you know?" Zhang Qiwer said, "He wanted to sneak out late at night and come back half a day later. I don't know the details." Yunyang asked Lai Zhao again, "You are guarding the door. How come you didn't know when someone was leaving?" Lai Zhao then said, "The door is locked every day, so he could fly out." Lao Lao saw that the tiles on the house were broken and there were many broken ones. He jumped over the house and left. He didn't dare to ask anyone to visit him, so he had to accept it and endure it. Not wanting the magistrate of the county to question the matter in court, he first pinched Ku Dang and chased out 4 pieces of gold nuggets, 3 pieces of silver jewelry, a pair of gold rings, 2 silver bells, 5 taels of broken silver, and 2 pieces of clothing, a handkerchief, a box, 30 taels of silver, a pair of gold bowls and hairpins, a golden fairy, and 4 rings were recovered from Zheng Wang's name. A gold pick, a pair of silver bracelets, 5 pairs of gold buttons, 4 pairs of silver hairpins, and a bag of broken silver were recovered under Xiang Zui's name. Grandma Ku chased out 3 taels of silver in her name. In the future, Wenger asked about the slave who had stolen property due to adultery. Ku Dang was involved in theft, and both were guilty of miscellaneous capital crimes. He was allowed to serve for 5 years, and the stolen goods were transferred to the official. Zue's Sun family was Simon King's concubine, and she and Ku's grandmother were both serving as officials. Grandma Ku offered it to Ming Dynasty and released it. Zue ordered the county to send people to Simon King's house to teach people to deliver the writ to claim the Sun family. Then Wu Yunyang called Uncle Wu to discuss. "You have already made a fool of yourself. Why did you bring him to the house for nothing? You have not stained the family, and you are just pretending to die." I sent the money to the police and returned to the magistrate. The magistrate of the county detained the official matchmaker and acted as an official to argue the sale. However, in the garrison mansion, Chun Mai inquired and learned that Sun Sui of Simon King's family was abducted by Lai Wanger, had her property stolen, and went to live outside. The matter was reported to an official, and now she is an official selling it. When Chun Mai heard this, she wanted to buy him to cook at home and slap him in the mouth to avenge her past. He said to the guard, "Sui is good at cooking and can cook good tea, rice, and soup. I bought her and served her at home. This defense is worse than Zhang Shang and Lian. Take the post and tell it to the magistrate." The official price of the county magistrate is only 8 taels of silver. After paying the money, he took it to the mansion. He first met with the eldest grandmother and the second grandmother, son, and then went to the room to see Chun Mai. Chun Mai was sitting on the gold-lined bed in the room, among the brocade tents. When she got up, the maid led Zue to meet him. When Zue saw that it was Chun Mai, she couldn't help but lower her head to see it. He looked up and bowed down, kowtowing for times. Chun Mai glared and called her family's daughter-in-law to come up, take this bitch's bun with me, peel off her top clothes, throw her into the kitchen, and cook with me. After hearing this, Zue complained secretly. "Since ancient times, I have been working as a wall breaker, but I have been a warehouse keeper while sweeping rice. Now that you are under his roof, how dare you not bow your head?" At this point, Sun Zue had no choice but to take off her bun, change into colorful clothes, and go to the kitchen with a face full of sorrow. There is a poem to prove it. Budai monk went to Mingzhou and traveled everywhere with his staff and shoes. Spare you the opportunity to incarnate into tens of billions and still have sorrow all over your body.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.